What if the story you've been told about the 2026 economy is upside down? Growth is up, markets are up, tech is booming, green investment is surging. So why do so many people feel poorer, more anxious, and left behind? This is the lie we all want to believe. A rising tide lifts all boats. The global order is rebalancing. New economic powers, the BRICS, are rising. IMF projections for 2026 seem to back it up. Growth in the established G7 is expected to stall around 1.1%, while BRICS accelerate. India, 6.2%. China, 4.2%. Indonesia, 4.9%. Yes, the United States may still be the biggest, with a projected $31.8 trillion GDP in 2026. The narrative sounds clear. The world is catching up, wealth is spreading, poverty is being erased. That's the most comforting lie of all. Wealth isn't spreading, it's being sucked upward at unprecedented speed. Oxfam's 2025 report, Takers, Not Makers, shows billionaire wealth grew 3 times faster in 2024 than in 2023, and projects the world's first 5 trillionaires within the next decade. Meanwhile, Oxfam and the World Bank reached the same conclusion on extreme poverty. The number of people in extreme poverty has barely budged since 1990. At the current pace, the bank estimates it would take more than a century to end it. So what's going on? BRICS growth is real. But who captures it? Oxfam finds that 60% of billionaire wealth isn't made through innovation. It's taken through inheritance, cronyism, or monopoly power. So when you see India growing 6.2%, don't picture millions of small businesses rising out of poverty. Picture a new oligarchy consolidating power. The modern growth model isn't the broad, labor-intensive industrialization of the post-World War II era. It's resource extraction, finance, and tech monopolies, models that are inherently bad at distributing wealth. Yes, the pie is bigger. No, you weren't invited to the party. This is the basic social contract. Work hard, and if your company thrives, you'll share in the gains. Higher profits mean higher wages. By 2026, that contract is shredded. Corporate profits are at modern-era highs. In India, Nifty 500 profits have hit a 15-year high as a share of GDP. In the US, St. Louis Fed data show corporate profits' share of national income jumped from a 2010 to 2019 average of 13.9% to 16.2%. Where's your share? The OECD Employment Outlook 2025 finds that in half of OECD countries, real wages, your purchasing power after inflation, are still below early 2021 levels. The ILO Global Wage Report is even starker. In advanced G20 economies, real wages fell in 2022, 2.8%, and 2023, 0.5%. U.S. salary budgets for 2026 sit around 3.5%, barely covering OECD inflation forecasts near 3.2%. This isn't an accident. It's a measured wealth transfer. Your small raise gets eaten by inflation while your share of the economic pie is systematically redirected to owners of capital. Inflation isn't neutral. It has become a mechanism of transfer. Firms raise prices faster than wages, lock in record margins, and quietly cut your real pay. This might be the most thrilling lie. We're told we're living through the biggest tech revolution in history. Artificial intelligence will save us from stagnation. McKinsey touts a $4.4 trillion productivity opportunity. Big tech Google, Meta, Microsoft, Amazon is set to spend a combined $375 billion this year on massive AI data centers. Analysts call it an AI arms race, where spending meets or exceeds the hype. We're spending $375 billion on what exactly? Welcome to Productivity Paradox 2.0. Back in 1987, Nobel laureate Robert Solow quipped, You can see the computer age everywhere, but in the productivity statistics. Swap computer for AI, and it still holds. The IMF just analyzed AI's impact in Europe. Medium-term productivity gains are projected to be modest, about 1% cumulatively over 5 years. The OECD's Global Outlook for 2026 doesn't even cite an AI productivity boom. It worries about tariffs, inflation, and policy uncertainty. Why the gap between 375B in CapEx and a 1% gain? Ironically, McKinsey offers the answer. While nearly every firm is dabbling in AI, only 1% of leaders say their companies are mature in deployment. That's an implementation lag. We're buying weapons, which mean AI models, before we know how to fight the war, which is real economy workflows. This isn't classic productivity investment. It's strategic spend in an arms race for market dominance. Even Mark Zuckerberg has warned of a financial bubble. Not because AI is fake, but because economic returns are not here yet. We're lighting vast amounts of capital on fire for near-zero near-term payoff. We desperately want this one to be true. The energy transition is underway. The IEA says global clean energy investment in 2025 will reach $2.2 trillion, almost double the $1.1 trillion spent on fossil fuels. Renewables are cheap. 91% of new projects undercut fossil alternatives. The IEA even projects renewables will meet 100% of growth in global electricity demand. The transition is on. If that's true, why are global oil and gas demand at record highs? Why did 67% of new energy demand in 2023 still come from fossil fuels? Why did U.S. coal jump 15% in H1 2025? This is Jevons' paradox. In 1865, William Jevons observed that making steam engines more efficient increased coal use because efficiency made it cheaper to use more steam. Efficiency creates demand. And in 2026, we've just created the biggest new energy consumer in human history. Remember the 375B AI arms race? It's not just in the cloud, it's in the physical world, and it's energy hungry. The IEA estimates AI data centers consume about 2% of global electricity today, set to double by 2026. In just 2 years, AI data centers alone will surpass Canada's total electricity use. That 2.2 T in clean energy can't keep up with this surging demand. To fill the gap, utilities fall back on the only thing that's always on: fossil fuels. We're not in an energy transition, we're in an energy expansion. The very AI revolution that promised to dematerialize the economy is accelerating the climate crisis. We're chasing a 1% productivity bump at the planet's expense. Here's the classic economic fairy tale. A tiny, poor nation called Guyana, with under 800,000 people, strikes it rich. In 2015, ExxonMobil announces massive offshore oil and gas finds, 11 billion barrels. The headlines call it an economic bonanza. Riches for all. Oil didn't bring prosperity. It brought the threat of war. Almost immediately, neighboring Venezuela revived a century-old claim on the Essequibo region, 2/3 of Guyana's land, and where much of the oil lies. The Maduro government reportedly sent 5,000 troops to the border, built military bridges, and held a referendum to annex the territory. Economists call this the resource curse, the paradox of plenty. You think finding oil makes you rich. It also makes you a target. The money attracts corruption from within and aggression from without. Consider this. The World Bank reports over half of low-income countries are now in debt distress or at high risk. They're desperate for revenue. A country like Guyana gets a lottery ticket that could pay down debt, but the blessing instantly triggers Venezuelan pressure. To defend itself, Guyana may divert future oil revenues away from schools and hospitals and into the military. the blessing becomes a geopolitical debt trap. We've spent all this time unpacking the biggest lie of all, that the economy is about these numbers. 3.1% global GDP growth in 2026, soaring stock markets, and headline inflation. By 2026, we've built the most profitable, most technologically advanced economic system in history. And it's breaking us mentally. The WHO estimates over 1 billion people now live with a mental health condition. We spend $375 billion on AI in 1 year. Global mental health spending stuck around 2% of health budgets. The World Happiness Report 2026 centers on the link between social media and well-being. The same technologies propping up market caps are now officially under scrutiny as drivers of declining happiness, especially among the anxious generation. The 2026 economy isn't resilient. It's anxious, unequal, and running on a fossil-powered treadmill chasing 1% productivity that never arrives. The biggest lie we believe is that this system works for us. Truth? We're working for the system.